Hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar on 5 effective ways to engaging customers using social media. We are glad you could join us this Saturday morning. But before we begin, we would like to introduce you to Lithan, Asia's leading education institute and digital skills accelerator. Headquartered in Singapore, we have branches in Malaysia, Myanmar, China and India. We offer various programs in masters, diploma and industry recognized certification programs. Some of the programs we offer are Masters of Business in Enterprise Resource Planning, Digital Marketing, Web Development, Entrepreneurship, and SAP. Our focus today is going to be on digital marketing, where we specialize in delivering hands-on digital marketing learning experience. Now, what is hands-on digital marketing learning experience? I'm sure most of us watch a lot of videos on digital marketing, go through a lot of web content, discuss with a lot of friends on digital marketing. But the real question is, can we plan and execute digital marketing campaigns online independently? I'm sure that most of us would not be confident or probably sure of doing that without any support. This is where we step in. Our digital marketing program actually offers you a lot in terms of hands-on experience. We deliver this program using world-class blended learning format, using videos, case studies, PowerPoint slides, and practical application in form of live projects. Our learning facilitators, industry experts, and international mentors help guide, evaluate, validate your assignments and live projects, giving you the much needed confidence to grow as a digital marketing professional. Our aim to help you as marketing professionals is to plan, manage, and optimize your digital marketing campaigns independently. This webinar will give you some insights of what you can expect from this program. With further ado, I take this opportunity to introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Rohit Onkar. Rohit is an experienced process and data-driven digital marketing leader, big data evangelist and trainer. Currently, he is heading digital marketing department for Loyalty Rewards Management Private Limited, where he conceptualizes and executes digital marketing campaigns. After this session, you will be having a 15-minute Q&A session where we'll be open to take questions. You can type your name and question on the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. We hope you enjoy, learn, and gain a fresh perspective from this webinar on social media marketing. Over to you, Rohit.
Thanks for the introduction, Rudolph. So let's talk a bit about social media marketing. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to specifically focus on customer engagement and social media. We are going to talk about a lot of things today. We will start with the entire internet and social media landscape, and then go about seeing what are the popular social media channels. We'll then go to the strategic aspect of social media and try and learn about the 5 C's governing social media. We'll also take a look at some case studies of some brands who have used social media in a correct manner and some of them who have used social media in a not so correct manner. I'll also have a question and answer session at the end, wherein I will be taking questions related to careers in digital marketing and social media specifically. So let's begin. Now, The first thing that we need to understand as social media marketers and digital marketers is the fact that everybody needs to think mobile. Traditionally, digital marketing has always been a desktop driven industry. People really do not think about mobile. It's important for us to note that India is the second largest smartphone market in the world. And your user, whether he's using social media or not using social media, is on his smartphone. So, what is it that people end up doing on their smartphones? That people are spending a lot of time on their smartphones. About 170 minutes per day go in smartphone usage. Okay, just a little technical slack. We are back again. Now, coming back to what people do when they are using the internet. As I said, that we need to start thinking mobile. The smartphone usage in India is increasing. Do you know that an Indian smartphone user spends about 170 minutes per day? Now, what is it that he does on his smartphone? Now, he uses apps, he uses it for entertainment, and you see that a large percentage of users use social media on applications. I'm sure that you have the Facebook application, the Instagram application, the LinkedIn application in your phones. So, what are the different phones that people have on their mobile devices? People use WhatsApp, people use Facebook, people use Facebook Messenger, people use Hike. So, you see that majority of the applications that you have on your mobile device is a social application. The trend does not change too much for an iOS user as well. You'll see that WhatsApp and Facebook continue to be the top applications. You'll also see that YouTube and Instagram are more preferred by the iOS user as opposed to the Android user. Now let's take a look at the social media universe. Now when you take a look at the social media universe, you'll see that Facebook is the clear leader when it comes to global numbers on the left as well as India numbers on the right. You have Twitter and LinkedIn closely following Facebook. Then you have Pinterest and Instagram, which are catching up. As you see that Instagram actually has more number of users than Twitter and LinkedIn. Now, there's a myth when it comes to popular social media channels. You feel that Facebook, which is the biggest social network today, is the only one that is used by brands, whereas Twitter is used by celebrities, and LinkedIn is a platform where you go when you need work. Google Plus is only useful for SEO. Instagram is all about photos. Pinterest is just a new way to search images. YouTube are a way to copy videos and presentations. Now, this necessarily is not true. There are a lot of brands who have gone beyond the use of Facebook and have used social media in an effective manner. Before we kind of take a look at examples, let's take a look at the strategy that you should follow for social media success. Now, I call this the 5 C's of social media success. What are the 5 C's? The 5 C's are connecting with your target audience, cultivating a relationship with your target audience, getting them to convert. Once they have started using your product, convincing them to write a review. And all of this is accomplished when you communicate using the concept of community building. Let's try and take a look at all of these C's in detail. Now, when you talk about the first 3 C's, which are connect, cultivate, and convert, you will see that there are a lot of conversations that are already going on social media. Now, it's a myth that social media has conversations which are only related to consumers or only related to the B2C domain. You'll see that there are a lot of conversations that happen even if you're a B2B business. So on social media, people not only talk about their personal interests, but they would also talk about official stuff. You'll see that there are communities where data center professionals, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, accountants, all of them actually come and give you an option to really connect with them when they are having business queries. It's also a way wherein you can cultivate relationships. The next step or the next C in social media is getting people to convert. Now, it's important to understand that the people who are looking for such conversations or people who are initiating such conversations or people who belong to groups like data centers, engineers, and probably mechanical engineers, those people can actually be reached through social media because on different social medias, these people give their designations. These people have a typical interest profile, and you can use the targeting tools that social media gives you to exactly reach out to these people. A simple example is if you want to reach out to chief marketing officers in India, all you need to know is their designation, and all you need to know is how do they behave on social media. And if you know their interests and if you know their designations, you can use the tools that social media gives you to reach out to these audience and target them with your communication. Well, that takes care of the connecting part, the cultivating part, and the conversion part. What about convincing them? Now it's interesting. If you have a look at the screen, you'll see that the buying cycle has changed a little bit. The initial buying cycle was all about getting aware of a particular product, getting a particular brand in your consideration set, and then making a purchase. Although marketers did care about the experience, but because that experience did not lead to online advocacy or viral advocacy, the latter half of the purchase cycle was ignored. With the advent of social media and with social media being so mobile in nature, you see that people, before even getting aware that they need a particular product or want to engage with a particular brand, they see reviews about a particular brand. Let's take an example. Let's say you are a 20-year-old. Obviously, when you're a 20-year-old, you do not have the financial capacity to buy a car. You might be 5 years or 10 years away from buying your own car. But with the advent of social media, you know that a particular car has bad reviews and has given a bad experience to customers. You will be apprehensive of buying that car when you reach the awareness phase of your buying cycle or the consideration phase of your buying cycle 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. So essentially, social media for brands is a double-edged sword. Although it does give you a lot of visibility, the advocacy aspect also has a negative influence on your purchase cycle, even when your buying journey or even before your buying journey has begun. Now, when you use these 5 C's to market your brand on social media, it's also essential to measure your success in the right way. Now, a lot of people talk about stuff that goes out on social media, which translate into an increase in sales or a dip in sales. A lot of people do not attribute conversions or do not attribute an increase in revenue to social media activities. Now that's because of the attribution model that you're using. It's important for you to understand that I might see something on Facebook and click on it and not buy immediately. But after a week, I might just Google about it because I had that recall when I saw it on Facebook and convert through Google. Traditional marketers always gave that attribution to Google, and that is why all your analytics reports will show that Google has maximum attribution and your spend is justified and has a positive ROI. Whereas on social media, you have put in money, but you haven't got the results. Now that's an attribution problem. To solve this attribution problem, it's essential that you look at the concept of assisted conversions. Conversion is a conversion that you measure at any phase of a person's buying cycle. So for example, if you saw a mobile phone that you liked on Facebook and you clicked on that post or on that ad and you did not buy it, but after 8 days, when you had the money, you went directly onto the site and you bought the mobile phone, the attribution needs to be given to social media and not to some other channel or not to the direct channel that you've gone through. And that is why social media is essential, and that is why it is essential to measure social media in a correct manner. That is when you will realize the ultimate power of social media. Let's take a look at some brands that have used social media to create virality. Let me take an example of an American brand called Gym Pack. have gone to the gym at some point of our life. Some of us regularly go to the gym. But the people who go regularly to the gym are a small percentage from the people who sign up for a gym. Does is something very interesting. It gives you an offer. It says that I have tied up with all nearby gyms in your locality. You avail the services of a gym free of cost. The only thing that you need to tell me is how many times in a month will you go to the gym? Now, when the company asks this question, a lot of people tend to overcome it and they say that I will go to the gym 20 times a day, 20 times a month, or 25 times a month, or 15 days a month. Now, what happens is the company says whether you go 15 days in a month, 20 days in a month, or 25 days in a month, it's free of cost for you. But if you have committed 25 days in a month and you miss one day, I will impose a penalty on you. If you miss another day, the penalty becomes double. If you miss the third day, the penalty becomes triple. So essentially, the company is charging the people who are not regular or irregular to the gym and giving the services free of cost to a dedicated gymnast, or a person who kind of really goes to the gym, right? Or an athlete. So it's a unique model, and this entire concept went viral. It's important to understand that in social media, virality is not often driven by the brand, but it is driven by the people. Another example, this time of an Indian restaurant owner in the US. Now, Karma Kitchen. Karma Kitchen has really gone viral because in the US, this restaurant chain does something very unique. Restaurant. You eat at a restaurant, and then when it's the time for the bill, instead of getting a proper bill, you kind of get a message which is in the form of a card. And that card reads that your meal was a gift from someone who came before you. To keep the chain of gifts alive, we invite you to pay it forward for those who dine after you. So that essentially means that someone has already paid for the meal that I've had. Now, on an average, the restaurant owner says that people end up paying 20% more than what they've had. That means that if you had a dosa worth rupees 100, you end up paying 120. Concept, not because of the revenue that the restaurant chain is making, but because of the concept of virality that is embedded in this concept. What happens is when I get a message like this, I just take a photo and post it on Instagram and Facebook and say that I have done a noble deed of gifting a meal to someone who will come after me. Now, I'm sure that a lot of people might have broken this chain. But here's the thing on social media, nobody wants to look bad. Do you want to be that one person who clicks a photo and says that I broke this noble and generous chain? You probably do not want to do that because of the kind of social media backlash that you will get from your own community, right? And that is why this chain is going on for the last 2 years, and it has really gone viral on the social media front. I actually have a video to show you. I'm not sure whether the video is going to be played, but I'll nevertheless kind of try playing it and then give you the concept. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so we have some technical glitch. So what I will do is because you cannot see the video, I'll just give you the concept, and maybe we can see the video a little later on YouTube. What Puma did was, so to get their sale out there, they used a unique concept of timing the sale. Anybody who comes to my store and shops in the shortest possible time interval gets the highest discount. So that means if you shop in under a minute, you will get 20% discount. But if your friend takes more than 1 minute, your friend will just get a 10% discount. Now, this concept in itself went viral because on social media, everybody wants to win. So you want to be that winner who has got that extra 5% or 10% of discount because you shopped faster than your friend, right? And you want to look good on social media. So you say that I shopped under 1 minute and that is why I got a 20% discount, wherein you took more than 1 minute and that is why you got a 15% discount or a 10% discount. And that is why I'm a faster shopper than you, right? So these are the brands that have like really done well on social media. Let's take a look at some examples of brands who haven't done so well. Now on social media, because it's so real time and it's so personalized, it's important to really understand what you're trying to communicate. Here are a few examples of some brands who have not really communicated in the right manner. Now, Vodafone has this habit. Whenever you mention Vodafone on a Twitter or a Facebook, you will get a standard response which tells you to DM your contact number and other details and tell your issue. Right? When you're asked to DM, you go ahead and DM your number and you DM your name, and you've probably done it once, more than once, and you wonder that previous time when I had a problem, I have given my number and my name. Can't they trace it from there? But they keep on asking you for the number and your name. That's because they use a lot of automation. Now, automation is not necessarily a bad thing, but on social media, because it is so people to people and it is so personalized, you have to really be careful with automation. Here's an example of a person who just mentions mentions Vodafone's handle and says that he wants to marry the daughter of Vodafone, right? Of Vodafone India's owner. Now he wants to marry the daughter by end of day by Vodafone. Standard response. Please DM us your contact details and we'll get back with a good proposal. Right? Really, really funny and something that's gone wrong. Tata Docomo did something very strange. So you see that there's a message of a value-added service that has been successfully deactivated and an amount of rupees 30 has been credited back to the person's account. And you have a Twitter audience coming and saying, who are you telling this to? Right? So there's a basic feature on social media that is called @mention. Reply to someone, just forget @mentioning or do not hit the reply button, and that @mention or that @tag does not come. If you're talking to someone in a personal way on social media, be sure that you're using the @tag. If you do not use the @mention, a message which was meant for someone else is publicly displayed. Need to be careful of when they use social media is to keep their employees happy. Now, if you take a look at, let me just in a little bigger. And if you take a look at the last example, that is of NDTV. Okay, let me just give me a minute. Okay, so you'll be able to see here that NDTV Good Times actually does not stand for good times. So an employee, it's his personal handle and says, I am pissed off with this office and this office is not good, right? So you have to be very, very careful because when you're using social media, there are two elements to social media. You have brand handles and you have your personal handles. It's important that even if you're using different browsers, you need to be really attentive and there needs to be a quality check before any tweet goes out. Would have seen this before it went out, probably the employee wouldn't have been fired. Lastly, it's important for us to understand what is the career path of a social media marketer or a digital marketer. Now I have something here which really shows the career path. Now this is essentially more from a brand side, right? So when it comes to working in digital marketing or working in social media marketing, there are two career options or career choices that you have. One is working at the brand side, working for a small brand, working for a medium-sized brand, working for a large brand, or working at an agency which handles multiple brands. Now, whether it's the agency side or the brand side, you need to understand that the hierarchy kind of remains the same, although the roles and responsibilities and the exposure that you get is quite different. But this is how a typical corporate setup looks like in the digital marketing team. You have the head of department of digital marketing, who's essentially responsible for strategy formulation and auditing the digital marketing strategy. Now that HOD digital marketing might be on the brand side or on the agency side. Managers that actually do the campaign planning and look at a little bigger picture. At the campaign execution level, executing SEO strategies, SEM strategies, social media strategies, right? So SEO, SEM, and SMM are further bifurcations in the digital marketing world. At the execution level, where most people starting their career start with, you have associates who are responsible for campaign execution. Now, these associates need not have a pure digital marketing background. As you can see that some of them actually come from a research background, or some of them have an offline marketing background, but their job description has 50% of digital and 50% of the other things that they are doing. Uh, on the campaign execution level, or on the SEO, SEM, and SMM manager level, is when you get to do real digital marketing and real social media marketing. Now, this is more from a brand perspective. The only change that happens in an agency perspective is you have the role of SEO, you have the role of associates and SEO managers or SEO executives overlap, right? So because not all agencies might have an offline component or a research component. They might be pure social media or pure digital marketing agencies, and that is when you kind of have the SEO manager's role and the SEOs kind of overlap with each other. Obviously, digital marketing is supported a lot by technology. So you have the creative team, you have the development team that kind of supports you. There is enough exposure even from people from a IT background or development background if they end up working in a digital marketing role, which is again more of a tech role and less of a strategy and communication role. But you still get to learn the nuances of social media. That's all I had. I'll open it up for question and answers. So if you have any questions and answers, you can kind of use the chat box, and I'll be happy to kind of answer all your questions. Kind of answer all your questions. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions. Let me take the question of Kiran first. So Kiran says, what's the trend today? What is the skill that one needs to update? Now, if you want to get into digital marketing, it's important for you to be research oriented. So the first thing that you need to have is you need to be. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions. Let me take the question of Kiran first. So Kiran says, what's the trend today? What is the skill that one needs to update? Now, if you want to get into digital. Okay, let me continue. So, in terms of the trend today, firstly, you need to be research oriented, right? So, the first skill that you need is to be research oriented. The second and the most important thing is you need to be open to ideas, because digital marketing is skill. Just give me a minute. I think you guys can hear me, but we are just going to make sure that you can hear me. All right. So in terms of the skill that you need to have, I spoke about you being research oriented, right? The second thing is be open to learning and be open to new ideas, because digital marketing and social media in itself is so dynamic that you need to keep on learning. And always remember to make data your best friend. So there might be an internet marketer or digital marketer that has spent 10 years in the industry, but if he does not love data and you love data and you have data which can prove a point, you're always going to have an advantage. In fact, digital marketing is one of the few functions that you get into where an experience, although does matter, but does not matter so much as the other fields, because it is so dynamic. Digital marketing being so dynamic, you need to be open to ideas, you need to be research oriented, and you need to be data driven. If you get these three right, then you're going to make it big in digital marketing. I hope that answers Kiran's question. Let me take Nitin's question next. So Nitin says, what care should be taken while interacting with the customer on social media? Yeah, it's interesting that you asked this question. Now, in terms of best practices, the number one practice that you should follow while interacting with customers on social media is to keep a check process, right? Now, you'll have larger brands and larger agencies actually keeping a couple of people just for quality check before anything goes out on social media. So, I mean, here's how you'll do it practically. Whether you're on the brand side or at the agency side, it's important that whenever you create a social media strategy, you create something called as a content calendar, get it reviewed by the person who's responsible for quality check. And when you're posting it, review it yourself. That's how you will end up not making mistakes. Now, for spontaneous responses, let's take the example of Vodafone, wherein there are hundreds and thousands of people complaining about different issues on Twitter and Facebook. The way you could go about responding is using standard templates. Again, when I say standard templates, remember that they are not automated responses. They are still templates that you will use to manually respond to a person. The only foolproof trick to succeed on social media while responding to a customer is to make sure that you follow the correct tonality of your brand. For example, if you're a life insurance corporation of India, you cannot talk to people by saying, "Hey, what's up? What's wrong with our services, or what's wrong with your insurance policy?" Because the brand personality of LIC is not the high "what's up" kind, right? But if you're a Nike, you can be a little more casual and you can use words like LOL, you can use words like WhatsApp and stuff like that, right? So it's important for you to create that tonality document, that standard response document, and then go about responding on social media. I hope that answers the question. Okay, let's go to Within. So Within says, what are the most effective social media platforms? Now, within that really depends on the kind of brand that you're working with. Just to kind of simply answer that question, if you are a B2B brand, if you want to use social media more for lead generation, you'll probably look at platforms like a LinkedIn and a Quora and a SlideShare to be more important than Facebook and Twitter, right? And at the same time, if you're a fashion brand, you will probably look at Facebook and Instagram more than using LinkedIn. Now, what I've learned from my experience is it's good for brands to be present on all social media platforms, but your activity or the frequency of activities that you do on social media across different platforms should change. Let's take an example of a real estate builder. Maybe a real estate builder would want to be more active on Facebook and Twitter because they can use it as a customer service tool. Whereas on LinkedIn, they would want to just post once in a week when they have some significant update about the real estate industry. So you have to play it according to the kind of brand that you are handling. But it's also good to be early adopters of a particular platform. One example that comes to my mind is brands that have used Facebook when it just started opening up to brands have a distinct advantage over brands who came in later. Because what happens is when a social media platform is new, you have only a handful users, and when you only have a handful of your users, you can actually reach out to those users without paying the platform. Now, if you've had some experience in social media marketing, you'll kind of understand that even if you have 100 people liking your page, when you post an update on Facebook, hardly 4 or 5 people see it. That's because the clutter in the Facebook newsfeed is so much that there are thousands of brands trying to reach out to that same audience, right? But this was not the case 10 years before. When Facebook opened up for brands, you kind of you kind of had the ability to reach all your fans, right? But then as the competition on social media increases, or as the competition on social media increased, you saw that you're reaching out to limited people. If you want to reach out to more people, you do something called as a boost post, right, or a promoted post, and that is when you can reach out to your own fans or people beyond that. So that is why it's important to kind of get into all the platforms, but in terms of the frequency of posting, only prefer the platforms that are fit for your brand, that are a fit for your brand, right? Okay, so Yamini has a question. What percentage of a marketing budget should we allocate towards social media marketing? Again, depends on the kind of brand that you're handling. But just a ballpark, most organizations are moving from 10% allocation that they had 2 years back. So 10% being a part of the overall marketing budget. So their digital budget used to be 10% of the overall marketing budget. So that 10% is slowly moving towards as high as 35 to 40%. So any established organization, whether it's it's at whatever phase of their business they are in, they have about 40 to 45% spends on digital marketing, right? And out of that 40-45% spend on digital marketing, you will see that a large percentage of spend is on social media. And that's because social media has two components: not only the organic component wherein you talk about creating posts, creating content, but you have the advertising component as well. And it's safe to assume that between Google and Facebook, 90% of your advertising spend is kind of is consumed, with 50% of that spend going to Google and 50% going to Facebook. So to kind of conclude everything that I've said, when it comes to an e-commerce brand, you see that 70 to 75% of their budgets are on digital. Right, out of the digital budget split, you will say 50% is on social media and 50% is on the other channels. When it comes to more traditional brands, you see that 30 to 35% of their spends are on digital. And again, it will be an even split between social media and the other aspects of digital marketing, right? Okay, Vidhi. So I would like to ask, what things should a person be focusing on first for a marketing campaign? Well, if it's a social media marketing campaign, you need to kind of really think of the three P's, right? So the first P is the positioning of the brand that you as a marketer want to give your brand. Now, it's important to kind of understand that the positioning of the brand has to be in line with the perception of the brand. For example, if you're talking about a financial brand, right? If you talk about, let's say, India Infoline. Now, India Infoline is a serious brand because it is into a serious business, right? It is into the financial brokerage business. You cannot position the brand as as something which is funny or something which is quirky, right? It has to be a mature brand, even when you're using a platform like Facebook. So personality and perception are very, very important things. Okay, so personality, perception, and positioning. You need to understand what your brand personality is, position it according to the brand personality, and see what perception is it giving people. So that's usually the first step that you should be focusing on when you plan for a marketing campaign. When that first step is over, you will decide which platform is more suited for you. So let's say if the personality of your brand is serious, you need to go on a serious platform. So you need to maybe focus on a platform like LinkedIn and Twitter, which is a little more formal than Facebook. But if the personality of a brand is fun, young, and trendy, you might want to focus on Instagram and Facebook, right? So after deciding the personality, perception, and positioning of the brand, right, or after knowing the personality of the brand and the perception that it has, and deciding on the positioning, you select the budget, the platforms. Once you select the platforms, you go on and allocate budgets to the platform. So you might say that a B2B brand has 70% of their budgets focused on platforms like LinkedIn and SlideShare, and the rest 30% on Facebook and Instagram, right? Or vice versa for a consumer brand. So it starts from identifying the personality of your brand, positioning the brand, then moves on to platform selection, and then moves on to budget allocation, and that is when you start a marketing campaign. If you get the first three steps right, half of your job is done. Any more questions? Okay, so what will be the ideal digital marketing mix for a vocation education company? Now, education is an interesting space. So in terms of deciding the ideal digital marketing mix, the first thing that you need to do is, do something called as keyword research. So if you know what are the keywords for your industry or your education company, try and figure out how many people are actually looking for such keywords. So you might want to kind of use any keyword research tool that is out there, right? So there are various keyword research tools, free keyword research tools that are out there, Google Keyword Planner being one. What you can do is figure out how many people are actually searching for vocational education in India. If you see that there is a large search volume and there is not too much of competition, be heavy on the search aspect, right? And at the same time, because vocation education is something that people need to be aware of, use a mix of Facebook, use a mix of Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, right? Reach out to parents, reach out to students to kind of create that atmosphere, and wherein parents also see the need of their children having vocation education, right? So it has to be a mix. A good digital marketing mix for any brand has to have social media, has to have SEO, has to have SEM, has to have email marketing, has to have mobile marketing. Only thing is, from a brand perspective, you can split up and say that I want more focus on SEO because SEO is a right fit for my industry, whereas SEM is a lesser fit. Okay, so I'll this is the last question that I'm taking. So I've already got a couple of questions. Kiran, I'll just answer your question about affiliate marketing, and any other questions that you have, you can just I can take it offline. You can just email it to us and I'll be happy to get back with a detailed reply. But in terms of affiliate marketing is something that a modern digital marketer would always discourage, and that's because although you get a guarantee of a lead and a cost per lead, you do not know the quality of lead. Often affiliates give you a quality of lead which is not of high quality, so you will see that it is much more difficult to convert that audience from a lead to sale. And that is why affiliate marketing should be the last step in your digital marketing when you have kind of reached the upper ceiling on social media and such. Okay, so the last question that I have to take is how important is content in the digital space, and how much traffic can I really get from search? Okay, so I'll take how much traffic can I really get from search. Now again, it depends on the keyword potential. So if you have a lot of people searching for a keyword, there are chances that you'll get a lot of traffic. But if you're in a niche industry and not a lot of people are searching for your keywords, get a lot of traffic. So use the Google Keyword Planner to get an idea of the search volumes in your industry, and that should be able to answer your question.
Thanks, Lloyd, for the wonderful session and for sharing your experience and insights on social media marketing. Thanks everyone for your time and for taking the time to attend this session. I'm sure that we'll be able to answer most of your questions. In case you have any specific query on career digital marketing or social media marketing, please feel free to write to us on rudolph@lithan.com. We'll be looking forward to meeting you again with more such webinars which will help you stay updated on digital marketing and social media. Wishing you the very best and have a nice day.